So I'm gonna discuss to you the summary of chapter 10 application layer. So first, uh, application layer is such as web browsers, online gaming, chatting, emailing friends enable us to send and receive data with a relative easy. Typically, we can access and use these applications to knowing how they work, and however, for the network professionals, it is important to know how application is able to format, transmit, interpret message, and send and receive across the network. So visualizing the mechanism that enables communications across the network is made easier if we use layer net frameworks of the OSI models. So in this chapter of application layer of summary, it will explore the role of application layers and how the application services and protocols within the application layer uh, make robust communication across the networks possible. So first, application layer is closest to to the end users. So application used to communicate and underlying networks over which messages are transmitted. So application layer protocols are used to exchange between programs running source destinations and hosts. So the upper three layers of OSI models, so application, presentation, and sessions, define the functions of the single TCP and IP application layer. There are um, many applications layer protocols and new protocols always being developed. So some of the most widely known application layer protocols is HTTP or hypertext Hypertext Transfer Protocol (HTTP), and then FTP or File Transfer Protocols, and TFTP or Trivial File Transfer Protocols, Internet Messages Access Protocols or IMAP, and Domain Name System or DNS Protocol, and then we have a presentation and session layer. So we have presentation and session layer. So the presentation layer has three primary functions. So we have three primary functions. First is formatting or presenting a data at the source device into compatible form for receipt by destinations devices. And then compressing data in a way that can be decompressed by the destination device, encrypting the data for transmission, and decrypting by upon recipient. So the presentation layer is format that application layer, and it sets standards for file formats. Some well-known standards for video including QuickTime, uh, Motion Pictures Group or MPEG, and then yes are part of presentation layer is like I said, QuickTime, MPEG or Motion Pictures Experts Group, or and GIF, part of the presentation of graphic interchange format. And then we have a JPEG. We all know that JPEG, so Joint Photographic Expert Group. And then we have PNG. So this is part of the presentation or PNG or Portable Network Graphics. So next is TCP and IP application layer protocol. So TCP and IP layer protocols is application that specify the formats and control information necessary for many common internet communication functions. So application layer is used both the source and destination device during a communication session. For communications to be successful, the application layer protocols implemented on the source and destination host must be compatible. So next is peer-to-peer networks. So peer-to-peer networks is networking models that data access from peer devices without use of dedicated services. So the P2P models is involves with two parts. So we have a two parts, P2P networks and P2P application. Both parts have similar features but practice uh, and we have a similar features. So in P2P networks, two or more computers are connected via networks and can be share resources and such printers and files without having a dedicated server. Every connected end devices known as uh, peer can function as both server and a client. One computer might assume role service of one transaction while simultaneously serving a client to another. So peer-to-peer applications is device that act both and a client and a server within the same communication. So some P2P application in use hybrid system where resources is sharing decentralized, but the indices of the point resources is locations are stored in centralized directory in a hybrid system. Each peer access in index a server to get the location of a sources stored to another peer. So for example of uh, peer-to-peer application, have a message. If you we have both client, we have instant text messages and have two phone and we have two class of phone and we have uh, senders both client and we have text. Those are the peer-to-peer example of peer-to-peer applications. Both clients simultaneously and it initiate message and receive message. That is sample of peer-to-peer applications. Now we have HTTP and HTTPS. So HTTP is request response protocols when a client, typically web or browser, requests to a web server. HTTP specify the message type of use that communication, the three communication messages types: get, post, and put. So get is a client request for a data, and a client sends the get message to the web servers to request HTML pages. So post uploads data files, the web server such from data. Put uploads resources into content to the web server such an image. So we have SMTP operation, we have SMTP operations. This is message formats, require message and headers and message body. While the message body can contain any amount text, that message header must have properly formatted recipient email address and sender address. So when a client sends emails in a client SMTP, so the process connects while server SMTP on well-known ports 25. So we have POP operation. So it's used on applications to retrieve mail from mail servers. With POP, mail is downloaded from the server to the client and then deleted on the server. This is how POP operates by default. Now we have IMAP. So IMAP is another protocol that describes methods to retrieve email messages. Unlike POP, when the user connects to IMAP, servers uh, IMAP capable server copies of the messages are downloaded to the client, and then applications and then the original message are kept on the server until manually deleted. Users view copies of the message in the email client software. So we have a file transfer protocols or FTP. So we all know the FTP is another commonly used applications layer protocols was developed to allow data transfer between a client and server. So yeah, an FTP client is an application that runs on computers that is used to push and pull data from FTP. So FTP requires two connections So between the client and the servers of one commands and replies and another actual file transfer. So this is all about in chapter 10 about application layer, and this all. Thank you.